Hello and welcome to Four Quick Cues Book Talk with Enfys. This is the live interview chat show where I ask pagan authors 4 quick questions determined by the roll of the dice. If you have any questions for our guests today, please pop them into the comments and we will circle around to them at the end. I'm your host, Enfys Book of MajorArtQueerna.com, and joining me today, I'm thrilled to present you Jane Meredith, pronouns she and her, who is an author and ritualist based in Australia. It is tomorrow morning for her. Jane is passionate about magic and ritual, trees and rivers, mythology and dark chocolate, and Kabbalah and the Tree of Life have been her secret loves for a long time. She teaches online and, when conditions allow, in person. Her books include the best-selling Journey to the Dark Goddess, as well as Elements of Magic and Magic of the Iron Pentacle, co-authored with Fio Parma, and Aspecting the Goddess. Jane's newest book, Falling Through the Tree of Life, Embodied Kabbalah, is a radical retake on an ancient mystery of the love affair between heaven and earth, body and spirit, and I personally love it and think you should all go get it. Hey, Jane, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you, Enfys, for that great intro and for having me.
Absolutely. It is my pleasure. We were lucky enough to Zoom before this several months ago when we realized we both had Llewellyn books on Kabbalah coming out around the same time.
Indeed.
So I am so glad, we talked in there, we should do like a Facebook Live, and I'm so glad it's finally worked out. So yay.
Yeah. Future telling.
Yes. No, thank you so much for sharing, one of the drafts of the book with me, because it was really a revelation and I loved reading it. I kind of wish I'd had it before I wrote mine for research, because there's so many good ideas in there that was like, oh, I love this. I would have loved to include a reference to this in my book. But that said, everyone who enjoyed Queer Kabbalah should absolutely go out and get Falling Through the Tree of Life, because it's a fantastic read. I included it at the end of the book as one of my recommended next reads. So I hope people take that to heart. So you're welcome. So I'm about to interview you with the dice, and the last few episodes, I have asked our guests to name the dice for the purposes of this evening. What would you like to name this is a sparkly rainbow dice. I don't know how, oh, there we go. You can kind of see.
Yeah, I see the sparkles.
So
yeah, it
shiny.
Like the beginning of the universe. So I'm going to name it after the beginning of the universe, which I personally think should be called the Great Expansion rather than the Big Bang. So I'm going to name it the Great Expansion.
The Great Expansion. I love it. All right. The Great Expansion. And I'm always going to use the. Roll us our first question of the evening. We got number 15. Tell us something you learned in the course of writing Falling Through the Tree of Life.
Oh my goodness. That's hilarious. Something like just one thing.
Just one thing.
Okay. I learned that it's possible to write an impossible book. And like I was stuck on the beginning of writing this book for so long, for 18 months. And I just thought this book is entirely impossible. Like no one could write this book. I mean, I certainly couldn't, and nobody else could either. Like it is utterly impossible. And then I'd been stuck on it for so long that one day I decided, well, I'm just going to sit down and I'm going to explain in words why I cannot write this book, why it's impossible. And I thought, oh, I better limit myself on the word count. So I limited myself to 1,000 words to explain why to myself, why it was impossible that I could write this book. And I wrote my 1,000 words. And the next day I read them back and I thought, oh, this is pretty good. And and I thought, okay, I reckon I could write another 1,000 words. Like, obviously I can't write the book. No one could write this book. It's impossible. I certainly can't, but I could write another 1,000 words. And basically I kept doing that. I kept writing 1,000 words. I almost never, until I was at least 3/4 of the way through, maybe more, did I ever think that it was possible to write this book. But most days when I got up, I thought it was possible to write 1,000 words. And I just kept doing that. And so I learned that, like I had the outline, but I just didn't think I could bring it. I didn't think I could bring the depth and complexity and the nuance and the kind of the tie-ins and like the universe of it into book form, into a linear form, into kind of actual words in English language. I thought that was impossible. And yeah, I learned that it's possible to do the impossible by ignoring it totally and focusing on the very smallest corner of what is potentially possible.
One of the things I particularly love about your book is how the Tree of Life is such a huge topic, right? Like it's so vast and enormous, and there's high level concepts about the tree itself, and then there's the individual Sephiroth. And the way you approach it is you introduce a Sephiroth, and then one of the concepts that kind of ties in with it, even if it's a whole tree concept, and you break it down into these kind of nice bite-sized pieces. And I was so impressed that you can read your book in basically any order. You don't have to go starting with chapter 1, then chapter 2, chapter 3. It actually encourages people, maybe you're really feeling like studying this Sephiroth right now, this sphere, do that, then go back, then go forward, whatever way you want to approach this. It's not strictly linear. And I thought that was really brilliant, actually.
Thanks.
So, yeah.
I mean, that's how I teach it, and that's how I've learned it, is to start where you're at and then just keep going, basically. And that was how I wrote it. And I guess it really taught me that. It's not that I haven't written other books in a very disciplined way, but I always thought I could write the book. This one, I was utterly convinced that I couldn't.
Well, I'm glad you proved to be wrong, because now the book exists and people can read it, which is awesome.
I still don't quite believe that it exists, but I'll take your word for it.
Well, and we were talking before this, and I said, I got to hold your book over the weekend, which you haven't gotten to do yet, which is such a bummer, but it's just beautiful. Like, the interior design is gorgeous. It's kind of, it's an interesting size. It's more workbook-like, that really invites the reader to engage with it and not just read it. And it's absolutely beautiful. And I
really
love butterfly theme
illustrations. And those diagrams, how it's really brought like the poetry of the book. It's not just mechanistic. I'm really grateful for that.
Well, I posted a review on my blog yesterday, and it really is a gushing love letter to the Tree of Life. And if you can get through Jane's book and not fall deeply, madly in love with Kabbalah, there's no hope for you. Your enthusiasm's infectious, and I absolutely love that. So let's try for question number 2, the great expansion.
Okay, great expansion.
Ooh, all right. Number 5. Well, here's another big question. What drew you toward Kabbalah?
Oh, well, I do have an answer for this one. I always, from a very young child, very young, I wanted to know why I existed. And I could not understand it. Like, it made no sense to me. And it's like this great shout out to the universe. I really felt like I was doing that. Like, why? Why did these things happen? Why am I here? Why is this happening? Why have I got this life? Why am I in this body? Like, why? Why do I have to do this? And, I guess that quest never really let up for me. And I kept studying, and I felt like I got hints along the way. Like, I learned a lot of things. Obviously, I learned a lot of things, but they never to me like answered that why. But I definitely thought, geometry's got something to do with it. Now, I'm not a mathematical person at all. So like, this thing about geometry haunting me and in dreams was always a bit, like, oh, I should pay attention to that, but I don't know how to. I always thought forests had the answer. And, I've done my best and sometimes succeeded, I think, in talking to trees and forests about, what is this? Explain this to me. And certainly I always thought that sex had a bit of an answer there, and possibly death, but I've got less experience with that. And I just like couldn't put these things together, really. And fairy tales and mythology, I thought there were hints and clues everywhere about this why. And the Kabbalah was something that I had steered clear of, because I'm not into strict temple magic or Western occult traditions. And when I finally kind of stumbled into it more from the Jewish perspective, and I am half Jewish, when I finally put it down on the floor and walked into it, when I laid the map down on the floor and physically went and stood in it, that began to unfold for me. And I began to suspect, which I now think is true, that all of those things, geometry and trees and sex, are layered in there. And that for me, at least, Kabbalah and the Tree of Life actually does answer the why. I feel I've got the answer. I hope I tried to put enough doorways towards other people's answers in that book. That's what I was attempting to do. And so, this lifelong quest about why am I here? What is this thing that we're doing, this living thing? That was what drew me towards the Kabbalah. And that's what I felt was answered by it.
That's wonderful. And I like how the perspective you're sharing, and also in the book, is really about guiding people to find their answers rather than telling them, I know the answer, here it is. You're just like, no, here is how you can look for, I'm pointing you to where you can find your truth, but I can't tell you what your truth is. But you do that in such a wise and comforting way where it's like, okay, I have to do my own research, but at least I know how now. And it's just
map.
fantastic.
Like it's really a map.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But, and I found it, like, for me, it's the map. So
yes.
Yeah.
One of my early experiences studying Kabbalah was reading the graphic novel series Promethea by Alan Moore, which basically a ceremonial magic intro course in graphic novel form. And when they're actually walking the paths of the tree, it just really made a big impression on me. Like, oh, that's where I find the roadmap. That's where that is. So awesome. All right, the great expansion. Let's do question number 3.
Okay.
All right, number 14. What inspires you?
What inspires me? Like, I want to say everything, potentially anything and everything inspires me. And it depends, inspires me for what? Like, inspires me to write a book. Well, that's another issue. I think at the moment, or the last few years, the thing that has been inspiring me the most regularly is practices around conscious relating. And I mean, I can give a little example of that about how in workshops, I do this myself occasionally when I'm running a workshop, but I'm often in other people's workshops where this is happening, or big settings where you have like a double circle of people, like an inner circle and an outer circle, and you're facing someone, from the inner to the outer circle, and they say, this is the exercise. And you've just got this random person and this exercise that you didn't choose, kind of, and like you've got however long, they say you've got 3 minutes, or you've got 10 minutes, or you've got 50, whatever it is. So none of these factors have I chosen, but I'm in the exercise. And then at the end of that, the circle moves on and I'm facing somebody else. And, it's a different exercise with a different person and a different amount of time. And I just had this kind of vision about how, this was quite recently, in the last couple of months, life's like that. Like, actually, I'm just facing this person. At the moment, I'm facing you. And the exercise is an interview, 4 quick questions. That's dice. It's going to take this long. Like, show up to it. And just in that same way as in a workshop, like, just bring myself to it and be present. And it's just about now. And that's the process. And like, if it's like I'm standing in the supermarket line, and there's someone opposite me, like, that's the exercise, that's the process. And so I guess that was just one of the many, many, many pieces that I have kind of seeded in my brain from conscious relating practices and workshops and events and whatever, that seemed to me to like really underpin a whole lot of, this is how life works. So I'm really inspired by, I often read, when I say often, like the nonfiction books that I read often are science or science-based. And, like, I'm totally inspired by, I don't know, astrophysics and, how did the universe start, and the nature of soil. I'm reading a book on soil at the moment. And those things really, really inspire me because they're so closely wedded into magic and magical practice, and particularly Kabbalah, and the tree and, the magical tree and the actual tree. And I don't know if I've answered that question particularly well, but I'm a person who loves inspiration. I get excited about it. I try and kind of, I listen to other people's conversations and I read odd things that, I normally wouldn't read, and like go out of my way really to pick out pieces that are inspirational.
With the conscious relating thing, I remember in the memoir portions of your book, you talk about going to these events where like you're paired up with strangers and doing these practices and learning more about yourself and how you relate to people. And I was like, these all sound incredible. I need to find out where these are happening because I've never seen one before. So thank you for sharing that aspect of yourself. It's a very deeply personal and raw part of the book that you can't help but put yourself in those shoes and feel that right then, because it's so beautifully described, but it sounds pretty wonderful.
It's great to hear you say that because, like, as you said, they are intensely personal. And so they're totally like my experiences. And I think sometimes with with writing for an audience, we're encouraged to write something quite general that it could apply to everyone. And, obviously I try and do that as well. But, when I'm a reader, I love to get that window into how this worked for someone else, like what this means to them, a piece of their life, which is unique, and it's not my life, but in reading about like the intense experience or depth of their life, I can like reflect on my own, like it can offer me a mirror back. So yeah, that's what, more than I hope for those memoir sections to hear that. Thank you.
Excellent. We have one more random question to go.
Whoa.
I'll remind people, I know it goes fast, doesn't it? Yeah. I will remind folks watching live on Facebook. Oh, a kitty.
Oh, who is this? Question. This is Calypso. She loves the live interview, obviously. She could be up for the fourth question. We'll see.
We'll see. Atticus the Catechus has not made an appearance yet, but sometimes people see his tail off to the side during this. So yeah, if you have a question, please drop it in the chat or drop it in the comments below this video, and we will get to it after this fourth question here. So last one, the Great Expansion. What do you have? We have number 1, which is a critical fail, which means the question is, tell us about a magical mistake you've made and what you learned from it.
So this is one of those questions that I'm going to answer in my own way.
Okay.
I don't know that I really believe in mistakes. That whole concept, like a mistake. I am going to be bold and say, like, every mistake I ever made, I learned more than I could have learned by not making it. And I don't actually, like, I looked at that question of yours, which is the first one on the list. I was like, wow, these are hard questions. And I, for myself, like, I was like, okay, what mistakes have you made, Jane? And I was like, I'm not going to, there's nothing actually that comes to mind. Like, yes, there are things that I did that now I would do differently. But at the time, I was doing my best, and I learned from it, and I don't call them mistakes. And so even the word critical is interesting, that concept that a mistake or something where it's a big learning experience, like, yeah, they can be really critical. Like, they can really, really guide us, have guided me, things where I'm like, oh, well, I wouldn't do that again. And, it was critical to my learning. I can't even, like, I so don't code my experiences this way, but I'm trying to think of an example. What's an example where I wouldn't do that again? And yeah, like, I've had them, definitely, and they were often about communication. And in fact, I think I could probably say 90 to 95% of things that have not gone well for me have been around communication. Things that I didn't speak up at the time, things where I kind of glitched over something and thought I made an assumption, thought I understood, but I didn't really, because I hadn't asked the right questions. Things where I let someone's silence go, unquestioned again, like I didn't, like, I have to say, communication. And I'm talking about with the other human beings, really. In my, like, really personal magic practice, I mean, if I make a critical mistake, it's to, sometimes I withhold myself, sometimes I just like, oh, not today, and I don't know that that's a critical mistake, like, it's again, it's learning edge, it's part of me. Yeah, I'm sorry, Great Expansion dice. I'm arguing back on the critical mistake thing.
I think that's valid.
Yeah. I've certainly done things in the past magically that I would not do again. But would I know that if I had not done them in the first place? I don't think so. I mean, there's this thing where, you can tell people, but I certainly am one of those people who really only learns by doing it myself. I mean, occasionally I can take something on faith, but, mostly I've got to try it. Mostly I've got to do it. So, yeah.
When I look back and find myself thinking in the pattern of, oh, what was I thinking? I try to change it to, what was I learning? So I'm actually with you on that. Yeah, there's things I wish I'd done differently, but I learned a lot more from messing it up than I would from someone telling me not to do it. So, yeah. It's important to have experiences in life. Yeah. All right. So at this point, I'm going to drop your links into the chat for people and where they can find your book online, which is wonderful. I hope you get tons and tons of pre-orders. It comes out next month, July. What is the exact launch date? It's July, which day?
9, I think.
July 9th. All right.
Yeah.
Coming
so
out.
Soon. That's in 10 days. Here it's in 10 days.
So if you would like to, while I drop stuff in the chat and look for questions, if you can talk a little bit about the book or anything else you have exciting that's coming up, that'd be great.
I'd love to. Thank you. So my book, which is called Falling Through the Tree of Life, it is Kabbalah, but it is Kabbalah for people who are not Kabbalists. On the other hand, you could be a Kabbalist and be curious in this kind of embodied pagan version of Kabbalah. It's really focused on the tree of life specifically and kind of unpacking, decoding that mystery. And so I guess it invites the reader, the participant, into the tree to begin to experience that for themselves as a way of understanding this, very complex kind of layered methods of symbolism and philosophy and religion and the whole thing. And to me, for me, it was about letting myself fall in love with it. And I think it's like about trusting enough to let these experiences into you. So the Tree of Life has 10 Sephirot, and the diagram is, it's quite well known. If you saw it, you'd probably recognize it, even if you're not into Kabbalah at all. But that actually is a very complex layered glyph that has many, many avenues and ways to understand it. And one of those ways is through our personal life and our own experiences. And one of those ways is through magic and ritual. And one of them is through like reading concepts. And one of them is through kind of creating practices or, a whole set of things. And my book has sections on all of those things. So it has what I think of as essays or sections on the Sephirot, each one of them explaining what they mean, the whole world. Each one is like a whole universe, really. And then these pieces that you were talking about, Enfys, that I think of as more the technical pieces. How does this tree thing work? And then actual exercises, processes, rituals, spells to invite people into those. And then the memoir sections, which is like a really, really personal take on my understanding, experience, and living my life within each of those Sephirot as a way of like really fleshing out, embodying, I guess, the Sephirot itself and what that experience might be like. I feel like I've done a terrible job of explaining that, but
it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And again, I got so much out of this book. I really love it. I think that it's accessible to people from regardless of how much they understand Kabbalah. I think it's an entry point for the brand new practitioner, but it's also an entry point for someone who's been studying it for 10, 20, 30 years and can still get something new out of it because you have a very unique approach. And I keep having in the back of my mind to do the make your discs and put them on the floor and like lay on it and do all the things that you have sort of the portable tree of life that you can physically work with. I've made several versions of my own tree, but never one that I can physically interact with in that way. So, so it's one of those things where I'm like, I really want to do this very soon. I just have not gotten to it yet, but I love the idea. For me, I keep seeing the little like picnic paper plates and just like paint, like as kids, we would paint those at Sunday school or something and make art. And I'm like, that's so cool. Like it's such, a nice grounding physical encounter with the tree and that it's fantastic. So I hope people will take a look and enjoy it. It's really fantastic.
Yeah. And it's really like the Kabbalah. I just want to say like a word for the Kabbalah really is that it is this great explanation of the universe of all it is, ever has been and ever will be, from that very first pinprick dot prior to the Big Bang, plus whatever was before that, all the way through basically to the end of existence, and everything along the way, some of which is this little planet we call Earth and these little beings living on it currently doing not that great job of maintaining it, called humans, and they're on that map, and for me it's the great answer.
Excellent. Even better than 42. The great answer, the ultimate answer. Yeah.
A bit longer, but much better.
A little bit, a little bit. Well, Jane, thank you so much for being here this week. This has been absolutely delightful. I want to let people know who's coming up on the show. Next week on July 6th, Amy Blackthorn will be here. Her new book is Blackthorn's Protective Magic, A Witch's Guide to Mental and Physical Self-Defense. And then July 27th, we have Victoria Ratchke, who's the author of various magical fiction series, including On the Knife's Edge, Voices of the Dead, and more. So tune in on those nights at the same time, and we will have some more excellent guests. To everyone who has tuned in, please enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you for watching.
Thanks so much, Enfys.